Hi there, graders. It's time to self-check ourselves for our DMA. We are in week 12, and this is week 12, day 1. So we are going to get started with some multiplication facts. Don't forget that you can go into your MobyMax and work on your fact fluency through the fact fluency in MobyMax. So don't forget that. This is week 12. So we're going to look at our multiplication equations here. We have 1 times 0, one group of 0. So anytime you're multiplying by 0, you would end up with 0 as your product. 4 groups of 0 would be like adding 0 plus 0 plus 0 plus 0. So if you add all those zeros together, you would get 0. And 2 groups of 2 is going to be 4. So those are some basic facts. Make sure that, again, like I said, go into fact fluency in MobyMax and be practicing those multiplication facts. Our next equation is 500 minus 250. We could start with 500 and subtract off by place value. So we break this apart as 200. And 500 minus 200 would be 300. And then I could take that 300 and subtract off this 50. And anytime you subtract 50 from 100, that is going to be 50. So 300 minus 50 is going to be 250. Now, we could also use our algorithm and subtract. And we know that our ones place would be 0 because we don't have any ones to subtract. We cannot subtract 50 from no tens. So since we don't have any tens to subtract from, we're going to regroup or borrow 100. And that's going to regroup as 10 tens. And 10 tens, remember, is 100. So that 100 is now being called 10 tens. Now I subtract 50 from this 100, or these 10 tens, and 50 is 100. So 10 minus 50 is going to be 50. And 400 minus 200 is 200. Now we're going to take a look at our word problem. And our word problem states, Joey is running a 26-mile marathon. That means we know how far the marathon or the entire run is. It's 26 miles. He's going to take a break after 4 miles. So that means he stops. He's gone 4 miles. He stops. So far he's traveled 4 miles. He then runs 8 more miles. So from that point, 4 miles and then 8 more miles before taking his second break. How many miles does Joey have left to run? So if we think about this, Joey has left to run. So we take part of our question and rewrite it as an answer statement. So that's what we're wanting to find, how far Joey has left to run. So we would say Joey has blank miles left to run because, and then we can come back to that and answer it. So we're going to give ourselves a little bit of space, and we'll come back to that a little bit later. I know that I have a 26-mile marathon to run, or he does. He's going to run 4 miles, take a break, and then run 8 more miles. Now, they want to know how many miles he has left to run. So he has some of this race to run. He has some left. So we know that he started off, he's going to have 26 miles. He runs 4 miles, so that is going to be taken out of the 26 miles that he has to run. And we're also going to take out another 8 miles from this 26 miles that he ran for the second leg of his race. Now, there's a couple of different ways that we could look at this. We could use a bar diagram. So if I think about this as a bar diagram, here's my bar. My bar is the whole race. We know the whole race. It's 26 miles. We know that he has ran part of that race. This part being the first part that he ran. And then he has another part that he has to run, which is the second part, which is 8 miles. We want to know how many miles he has left to run. So we know that this is the total race, and this is 4 miles of the 26 miles, and there's another 8 miles of the 26 miles. So we could take these and add them together, and 8 and 4 makes 12. So far he has run 12 miles of his race. He has to run what's left here. So we could take that 26 miles and subtract 12 miles from what he's run so far, and we should get 20 minus 10 is 10, and 6 minus 2 is going to be 4. So that's 14 miles left. Now, we should be able to check our subtraction by using addition. So 14 plus 10 would be 24, plus 2 more makes your total 26 miles. Now, we could also think about it and subtract it a piece at a time. So we could subtract the 26 minus 4, and that would leave you with 22. So he's got 22 miles left to run after the 4 miles that he ran. Then we are going to subtract another 8 from that 22. And if I subtract 2 and then 6, if I subtract 2, that would be 20. And if I subtract 6 more, there's your 14. 14 miles left to run. So now we can go back up and say Joey has 14 miles left to run, because if you start with the total, if the total race is 26 miles, and that's how long a marathon is, it's 26 miles. If the total race is 26 miles and you subtract, if you subtract what he has run so far, right? If you subtract the 12 miles he ran so far, you get 14 left. Or if you wanted to go this way and subtract the 4 and get 22, and then subtract 8 from the 22 and explain it that way, you can always explain it that way as well. Either way is going to work. But here what I did was I took the 2 parts, put them together, and then subtracted those from the total to get what was the other missing part. So my missing part here is the 14 miles left for him to run. So when I add these 3 back together, that should give me my total parts. My next problem has to do with a missing number in a pattern. And we need to know what the rule is, what's happening each time we go from one number to the next. One thing that we notice, hopefully right away, is that our numbers are decreasing or going down. Now we just need to figure out how much are they going down each time. So if I start with 56 and I count back to 54, 55 and 54 would mean that I have subtracted 2 here. Let's see if that happens here. So if I take 54 and subtract 2, that would be 53, 52. Yes, we're subtracting 2 each time. So if I subtract these 2 out of 52, you guessed it, it should be 50. And then I subtract 2 more from here. Now remember, these are all even since I'm subtracting 2. These are even numbers. If you said 48, that would be also correct. Subtract 2 again, you're at 46. If you were to continue this pattern of counting back by 2s, basically you're skip counting back 2 each time. So the rule is subtract 2. And those are our problems for today. Be sure to come back tomorrow and self-check your answers for week 12, day 2. No discussion today, but maybe tomorrow. So come back tomorrow and be sure to check your solutions. Have a great afternoon.